Hello everyone and welcome to MeCo TV. My name is Ejiro Gane and I am the reigning Miss Delta State Nigeria USA and the official face for Ankara Festivals Los Angeles. Today we are here with a very special guest. She is a singer, poet, and social activist who believes that music is a social medium for change. She had a very special relationship with the late Nigerian Afrobeat musician and singer Mr. Fela Anikulapo Kuti, and encouraged him to address social and political topics directly. Today, we get up close and personal with Miss Sandra Izsadora. Hello and welcome.
Thank you.
We are so happy to have you here. So we have a few questions and we're just excited to get started. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So tell us a little bit about your childhood.
Well, I think one of the first things that influenced me as a child was, first of all, growing up in an all-black neighborhood. Well, I would say up until the age of 5. Mm-hmm. And then suddenly going from all black to all white. And the children in the neighborhood were the ones who pointed out and made me aware that I was different. And I think that is one of the things that started me asking questions. Because I wanted to know, well, when was I going to turn white, my eyes blue, and my hair blonde? So it led me on a journey and a mission to find out more about our story. Mm-hmm. When I would watch television, I saw no positive images of blacks.
That's true.
So that is the beginning.
Mm-hmm. And you were very involved in the arts and music and fashion. You had such a great influence. How were you able to find that artistic voice in a childhood like that?
You know, I think it just kind of came naturally. I think one of the best things that probably could have happened, mm-hmm. or that opened the door, was being placed into an environment that was totally different.
Yeah, definitely.
And for the children to point out those differences. Mm-hmm. And that's what made me begin to ask questions.
Okay.
And in asking those questions, you know, of myself and observing and not really finding any answers, mm-hmm. because my parents basically hid the truth from me about America's ugly history pertaining to blacks. Mm-hmm. And not only just blacks, but the Indians and mm-hmm. other minorities. You know, my parents tried to hide that from me.
Yeah, and you know, it's so interesting because you were so vocal, especially in the 60s. You had such a voice around Black power and empowerment of Black people and just uplifting of the Black people of the Black diaspora. I mean, how were you able to find that voice coming from a place where it didn't have the room to grow or it wasn't even acknowledged? How were you able to find that?
I think anger. It was anger because I found out that everything that had been taught to me was like a veil of lies. Religion. You know, I was reared in a Christian home and they showed me blue-eyed white Jesus. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Of course, the images that I had on television was Disneyland, and of course they were white, and the other guy that I really, you know, they pushed Santa Claus on me, he was white. Everything was white, and there was no one that looked like me. So I had to delve deeper, and in doing so, through, I would say, the Black Panther Party, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And then through school, my college years, being exposed to Malcolm X and learning the truth, I became a very angry young black woman.
Wow, that's amazing. And in that time, having a voice as a black woman, I mean, it was hard for African Americans to have a voice. So even being able to have that voice as a woman and a black woman at that, it must have been like a scary experience, or treading new territory, because not very many black women spoke up and spoke out.
No, it wasn't scary for me. I think it was the anger that was driving me, because I mean it just put me in a rebellious state, because no one wants to be lied to.
Absolutely.
But then again, I can't say that. I had a girlfriend that told me she'd rather hear a lie than the truth. So not everyone feels this way. And then another thing that I found out, that not everyone wants to deal with the truth.
That's very true.
And the truth comes like a two-edged sword. It cuts going in and it cuts coming out. Mm-hmm. Not everyone can deal with the truth. Not everyone can handle the truth.
That's true.
But I was reared in Christianity, and one of the lessons there was the truth shall set you free. So I always believed in speaking truth to power. And I think that's kind of the road that I traveled.
That's awesome. And so you wear many different hats. You are a poet, you're a singer, you're a social activist, you do a lot of amazing things. How have you been able to combine your music, poetry, and your social activist responsibilities over all these years?
Well, one of the things that I've learned over the years, in that even in the most negative situation, there's good that comes out of it. And so I have moved beyond the anger and hatred and all those negatives to embrace the education from that you acquire through adversity. So, and there it is, and here I am. And I just believe in like putting it all together.
Yeah, definitely.
And putting it together in a positive sense. Another thing that I learned in life is that negativity would like to live and thrive. Absolutely. So if you delve in negativity constantly, that's what you draw and that's what you attract to you.
Yes.
So me, on the other hand, I embrace the positive. And I try to look for the good in all situations. I try to look for the good. And I take the good out and I use the good and discard the rest.
That's awesome.
So that applies to the art.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because your art can't thrive, it can't grow in a toxic, negative environment. And so in order for it to flourish, you need positivity. You've got to feed it that positivity for fuel.
Right.
And that's what makes it grow. And that's why you've been so phenomenal. So my next question for you, which I'm sure a lot of the viewers are excited to learn more about, is how did you meet Mr. Fela Anikulapo Kuti?
Actually, it was Juno Lewis, master drummer, drum maker, who had been telling me about this group, Kula Labitos. You've got to see him, Sandra. You got to come out. Oh, And he was so adamant about me meeting the group that he came to my house and picked me up to take me to the Ambassador Hotel to this event that the NAACP was hosting, and Fela was the musician playing. So when I walked into the garden party, I looked up on the stage, and as I was looking up, Fela was looking down, and we made eye contact. And it was like, it was just a connection. And when they had the intermission, Juno had left the table, and then he came over and tapped me on the shoulder and said he wanted me to come to the bar with him. When I went to the bar, he introduced me to Fela. My life hasn't been the same since.
That is so amazing. So, you know, I know a lot of people read online, they learn about the different stories that they see on, you know, YouTube, or they probably Google you, you know, but just from you directly, what was the impact that you feel that you had on each other's lives?
Well, for me, it was like, oh my goodness, I've met an African man. He's going to teach me the history of Africa. I'm going to know more about myself. I was excited and really elated to meet this African man. And I just knew he was going to teach me.
And you learned quite a bit. What I want to ask, what do you think is the most significant thing that you learned while spending a lot of time with Mr. Fela?
Communal living.
And in what way, communal living? What do you mean by that?
Well, you know, communal living in the home where you have, I would say, I'll take a guess, maybe 75 people.
Okay.
And you had a daily interaction
With people.
inside of Calacuta Republic, 14A, a gay motor road.
Did you know about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I love the experience because I was open, because I'm learning about my roots.
Yes, that's right.
I'm learning about my roots through Fela, through the philosophy of Fela. But still, I embraced it and I loved it.
And your first time in Nigeria, you were learning about your roots, and you know Fela was teaching you a lot. But what was that experience like for you? Like when you first stepped off the plane, when you first landed in Lagos, Nigeria, what was that feeling like for you?
I remember the day that I stepped off the plane, it seems like the spirits just engulfed me. Like I just felt that I was embraced.
Absolutely.
And I came down off that plane, and I remember kneeling and, you know, just touching the ground because I was so happy to finally be the first of my lineage to return to the motherland. Yeah, so it was very an overwhelming experience for me.
That's amazing. And I mean, we can see it in so much of the work that you do and that you share through your art. So it's exciting to hear it from you directly. So we want to know, what was your experience like working in the studio with Fela? What was it like, that creative process of seeing one of Nigeria's and Afrobeat's greatest musicians just creating? And what was it like to work collaboratively with him?
Well, working with Fela was like, first of all, he had written the lyrics for me for Upside Down.
Okay.
And I spent a lot of time with Kologbo, teaching me the vernacular. And then the recording process itself was like nothing I had experienced here in America.
Okay.
Because it was like a big caravan. You took your food, your mats, and everything, because you're going to the studio. You might be there for 2 or 3 days recording. So it was just like, we were going on a studio safari.
An experience, a full-blown experience.
Yeah.
Do you have any memorable moments in a studio that you could share with the viewers? Anything that you can never forget?
Well, I remember being in this studio. I can't remember exactly. I know it was, I think it was, I can't really call it, but I think it's EMI, a studio there in Lagos. And they had this big old avocado tree. And I love avocados. Big old avocado tree in the yard. And myself and some of the wives, we were gathering the avocados, and I had picked up some. She says, no, 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 you can't eat the ones that fall on the ground.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So, transitioning a little bit, you have a song called Nigeria, and it features some celebrated Nigerian artists. Why did you choose a title to call the song Nigeria?
Yes, because it was 2000, I think it was 2006. And my husband at that time was working with Snoop Dogg. Mm-hmm. And usually my husband does front house. Mm-hmm. But he was doing monitors for Snoop. And when I found out that they were going to Nigeria, I said, well, you can't go to Nigeria without me. So I was really excited to return to Nigeria. And I mean, I think it was Byron's first time. Byron is my husband.
Okay.
I think it was his first time in Nigeria. So I wanted to be there. And of course I went. And after I got there and I saw that very little had changed, I was really, really disappointed. And I was hurt because I thought that Fela's influence through the music would have had a greater impact and change from the government, so that the government would do better by the people. But it was I saw a boom, and then I saw a boom, an opportunity, and then I saw sellout. So that's why I called it Nigeria. Mm-hmm.
Speaking of, your disappointment, there are a lot of things happening in Nigeria right now, a lot of changes that are, slowly happening. Omoyele Sowore, and you seem to support him in his quest for presidency of Nigeria. Can you share a little bit about why you share your support with him?
Yes, the reason why I share support with Omoyele Sowore is because he has vision. And the vision that he has, it talks about the problems and how he wished to make a change for Nigeria. And I also know that Omoyele Sowore was he was a Felaite. And when he speaks, he reminds me of Obama. So anyone that is that eloquent in speech and thought to know what Nigeria needs, I would be a fool not to support him. Although I know it's going to be difficult for him, because one of the things that I found out, or it just was in my face in 2015, was that the divisiveness in Nigeria, and that divisiveness has to do with ethnic groups. I'm Yoruba, I'm Hausa, I'm Igbo, I'm Fulani. When at the end of the day, you're all black. And once you step outside of Africa and you come into the Western world, they only see you as black.
That's true.
So this internal thing that is divisive and self-destructive It's like the Willie Lynch syndrome.
Yes.
The social and psychological engineering has played a detriment in Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm 100% behind a man with vision.
Yes.
Now I know that the corruption is so deep
Mm-hmm.
that he's not going to be able to fix this
Mm-hmm.
in 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
This thing is deep,
Yeah.
and it's a cultural thing. And when it and I find when it comes to culture, it's almost just a difficult sleeping giant
Yeah, it is.
to
It is.
fight.
It is.
So I'm hoping for the best.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that, it is a giant and we have a long way to go, but I think that there are a lot of steps being taken to make sure that we can, tackle the giant ahead of us. But as a creative and as an artist and as someone who, didn't look at ethnic tribes and, thought outside of the box to create music that would change lives and worked with greats such as Fela Kuti, how do you think artists and creatives can use their music to influence change in spaces like Nigeria?
I am going to coin Fela when he said, music is the weapon. Music is the weapon because it's very important what you put in a person's psyche. And I know for a fact that the Big Six, back in the day, the Big Six record companies,
Mm-hmm.
they considered it a threat when groups like NWA came
Mm-hmm.
and they were talking about things that were happening in their community.
Yes.
It was giving too much power and public enemy.
Yes.
They did not want this type of music. So the American industry, the powers that be within the industry, heard and said, we have to put a stop to this. Even T.I. talked about it, and I know it personally happened to my brother-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
They said he was singing too positive, so they didn't want that. As long as it was about violence, drugs, killing, disrespecting women, we can promote that. But anything that would bring knowledge and uplifting, we have to squash it. Mm-hmm. So America heard, and they use music as a weapon. And they use music as a weapon against our people.
Our people. Yeah. But it's slowly changing. So it's good to know that a lot of young people are coming up and speaking out, and with Omoyele coming up and putting his best foot forward for this race, we are definitely on the way to change. So that's exciting to know.
And I truly believe that, because one of the things that I noticed in Nigeria, the majority of the population are young. I mean, they're below 40.
Yes.
So when you have a population that's so young,
Mm-hmm.
then and they are they're graduating from college,
Mm-hmm.
and they can't find jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, they're working for government,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not being paid.
Mm-hmm.
When you have electrical problems that were happening in 1969, with electricity, water, sanitation, all these things that were happening then, still happening today,
Mm-hmm.
what's wrong with this picture? And then when you have things like the what's going on with the herdsmen coming through, killing people, I mean, and the government not really doing anything about it, change needs to take place, and you need some young ideas, innovative people that have been exposed and know, not these old schools of thought.
Yes.
Of greed too, because and that's another thing that I noticed about Nigeria. Nigerians are the most educated people in the world. But at the same time, they can be some of the dumbest to allow, and I know that's pretty harsh, but to allow puppets to control and steal the wealth. Do you know the Western world, China, everybody is focused upon Africa because all the resources are there. Nigeria can be a world-class leader. And I believe once Nigeria is free, the rest of Africa can be free. Once the west of Africa can be free, the diaspora can be free. But until that happens, we have no respect. We're at the bottom of the rung. I don't care how much money you have. We do not have the respect. And that's internationally.
Miss Sandra, you are so knowledgeable about Nigeria and the things that are going on in Nigeria. As an African American woman, what advice do you have for African Americans who seek a better understanding of their own roots?
To search out, do their research, not his story, but our story. You have to go beyond what is taught to you in school.
Yes.
You have to do the research, and you have to find out about the Benin Empire, which they don't teach you about, but they tell you about Egypt, but they don't tell you that the Egyptians were learning from going south of the Sahara. They don't tell you about the beautiful, fabulous cities of ancient time. They don't teach you these things. They don't teach you that Jesus didn't become white until Michelangelo painted the Sistine Chapel. They don't tell you about all the thievery and everything that was taken and stolen from Africa that's over there in Europe. And the Vatican has quite a bit of it. And I'm speaking upon what I know because I was in the Vatican. And I must say, I came out cussing. I was so upset.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
You know, like Omoyele Sowore and Barack Obama, they're eloquent in their speech, but I'm rough and raw.
And you know what? You're real. And you're real. And you're just being you. You're real. And I think that's what makes you you. And, you know, you just got to own that. And so that is totally fine. We appreciate you and your fullness and your rawness. So thank you for your authenticity. Miss Sandra, my question for you is, what is your philosophy for life?
Oh, well, that no matter what happens is not that serious. And if we tune into the universe, I say we are one. We are all connected. And you should connect with the universe. And that means there's so many answers in silence. Sometimes we have to go within so that we can blossom and grow.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. That's a great philosophy. Thank you so much for sharing. And as we just round up a little bit, you know, what is a message that you have for, I know there's a lot of, you know, you shared your philosophy, but I know there's a lot of African Americans watching, a lot of creative artists watching, a lot of Nigerians watching. You know, do you have any words that you want to share with them before we round up?
Well, the only thing that I like to say, and quote Fela, yeah, let us collectively make positive change in this world. You know, now they say, if you see something that's not right, say something.
Yes.
Don't just accept it, stay quiet, and go on. Stand up and speak out. And the other thing I want to know, speak to the world, and for those women that don't know, we have so much power. We have so much power, but women do not recognize their power. We have power.
Thank you so much, Miss Sandra Izsadora. I agree, we do have power. Thank you for being here. Again, this is MeCo TV. I am Ejiro Gane. I'm here with the lovely Miss Sandra Izsadora. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for watching MeCo TV. Please follow us on the social media links below and stay tuned for our next session. See you all next week.